What's up, everyone? Chris here. I'm going to apologize in advance for the crappy video quality and audio quality. I am on my cell phone, something that I don't normally record on, but I'm just going to give a little update on the status of the construction site I've been working at. I know it's been a couple months since I did anything in here, and well, it's actually at a really pivotal stage right now. We're getting our spray foam installation tomorrow, and that's pretty exciting. So for the next couple days, I won't be here. Tomorrow I'm going to have off, and Wednesday I'm going to be working at the other house here on the property. But a little sneak peek behind me there. I know last time I showed a lot of this off was, like I said, a few months ago. So there's been significant progress since between now and then. But it's actually towards the end of the night here. Usually I try to do this during lunchtime, so if it's a little dark, that's probably why. You only have so much lighting in here. But what I'm going to do is go ahead and just cut right now. I'm going to flip this camera around and show you what I'm talking about. And we can start our journey here in the spare bedroom. You can see we have radiators on the floor, and all the electric is done. As a matter of fact, a couple weeks ago we passed our rough-in electrical inspection, which is basically like an intermediary. And in this particular town, the town doesn't inspect the electric. You have to hire somebody to do that, third party, which we did and passed. Then the next step is the building inspector comes in here and does an intermediary on the framing, the plumbing, stuff like that. Also checks to make sure that the electrician was, in here inspecting. And well, everything's copacetic, which is excellent. They gave us the green light to get the spray foam. So all these bays over here will get sprayed in. This is just our usual stuff that you use here. This comes in a spray can, and we just spray this all around. So at some spots we did, that's obviously where these two pieces meet. As mentioned, we did the electric. Now the electric in here, I don't know if I mentioned it before, but I had helped with the major stuff. And the major stuff being, well, maybe I could show you guys, the meter outside and running up to the pole. Of course, it's dark out. You can kind of see it. So over here is the meter on this little pole, and then this guy up here goes up to a transformer. And originally, the wire just stretched across to the house, so we had somebody come in and dig a trench, and we ran some heavy 4-aught cable through here, and this is rated for 200 amp service. So that runs across here, and then from here comes into the house. So you can kind of sort of see a little bit where the ground settled. That was months ago. This gentleman, Dave, was the contractor on the job here, and he did that. I helped him with it. He designed it, and then once it got roughed in to the actual service in here, I kind of took over and did the rest of it. Now, he did a room or two, and he started doing the plumbing. He did the majority of the framing. Again, I helped him on it. I was on this job since May, and I believe he started in April at some point. You can see that electric does come in over to here. There's this large disconnect. This is where the old panel used to sit. It was over here, and it was just a little 60 amp little jammy. So this is a 200 amp click switch to shut off like a main disconnect, and that runs underground. This is that big heavy 4-aught cable. So there's 3 4-aught cables in here, 2 for each of the hot legs, 1 for neutral, and then there's actually a ground. So it's pretty hefty cable, and you can see this does have an actual physical ground here. So in this pipe, this isn't grounded out to the pole. At the pole it is coming down from top, but this here just goes down, and there's a big ground rod underneath. And there's some other things here. This is where the cable comes in and whatnot. But yeah, this all goes underground here. There's a crawl space underneath us here. There's actually an access hole over here. This is the remainder of my tools. We've cleaned up everything in here so these spray foam guys aren't tripping over our stuff. Some extension cords that I have lying around. Again, full heat. Everything's running in here fine. This is our over-glorified boiler system. This is a very efficient boiler system, up in the upper 90% efficiency. This is a 3-zone, as you can tell by the 3 different heads over here. This even has a condensation filter, so this thing condensates. You can see this little trap over here, and that runs all the way here and then goes underground to our main system here for drainage. And again, sorry for the camera quality here. This cell phone only can do so well, but anyway, so you can see this is the rest of the stuff. I got a temporary sink here. You know, I made the argument to get this because while we're getting ready to paint and spackle and do all this other stuff, we're going to want a spot to clean up. So I've actually set up a little makeshift kitchen over here. Again, most of this is packed away, but there's actually a camp stove and all that here in case I really needed to. As a matter of fact, speaking of which, I just took down my camping system here. I actually had a whole camp kitchen set up. But yeah, anyway, this is actually from like a Habitat for Humanity. You can go pick up these things that people, you know, they're renovating or whatever, and they throw their old stuff away, and you can get these cheap. So I think the owner just picked this up for a couple bucks or whatever. And yeah, you had a spare cabinet. We took a spare piece of countertop, threw a leg on one side of it, set it all up. But yeah, so the plumbing on this, all the drainage lines, this I had to run, install the sink, and yeah, you know, put in the stuff for the dryer. It's going to be a gas, I should say, an electric dryer. So we have this heavy 10-3 wire coming in here for a 30 amp line, and that's all set up for that. And then there's also the washing machine with the shutoffs over here. And this is all what they call Propex. So the fittings here, this is soldered onto a little piece of pipe, and then we actually took this, and the Propex tool expands over the fitting. So you actually slip this little coupler on, put it in the tool expands the plastic, you shove it over the little fitting, and then it naturally just shrinks back down on top of it, and works really well. As a matter of fact, you can see this is a bathroom area on the inside of this little like fake wall over here. We're going to have a little access door, so if we have to get to these hot and cold manifolds, that's not a problem. But yeah, this is our little utility room. And I know I've showed this off before. Last time I mentioned this is a works in progress, which is no longer a works in progress. I can go ahead and show this. Now this has all been covered up just to keep it nice and neat, but yeah, quite a bit of circuits in here. This is a 42 circuit panel, and you could see we have all of, I think, 30 something in here. Let's say 35. And while I can't really tell you off the top of my head what all these are, my Excel sheet can. I'm not an electrician by trade, but I can tell you from experience from other electricians and just working with stuff, not too many people can give you an Excel sheet and of a rundown of every single type of breaker here and whatnot. Now there's a couple things I should point out. This is a standard breaker. This one's rated for 15 amps. This one here with this little test, this is actually an arc fault breaker. Now, I'm going to do a little bit about this in a future video, but you have ground faults, which a lot of people know about, and that will detect any kind of issue between ground and neutral or hot. And that's like a situation like, you know, you dropped your toaster in your bathtub or your sink or something like that. But what an arc fault does is it checks to see if there's any arcing between any of the legs. And there's a series arcing, there's parallel arcing. Again, subject for another time, but the code for new construction is you have to have these in the outlets, all the receptacles in the house. So the way I did this was, starting over here, all these 15 amperes are all lighting circuits. Every single lighting circuit, it's on its own separate circuit. There are no lights in here that are tied in with any of the receptacles. That way, if your TV trips the breaker in your bedroom, it's not taking the lights with it. So I consider that kind of a safety issue. But yeah, so these are all the lighting circuits down to here. And then these are all receptacles, pretty much the whole bank over here. Now you can see there are some purple ones. The purple ones are combination arc fault and ground fault all on one breaker. So in this situation, we don't need to have a separate ground fault actual receptacle in the room. So this is actually doing the entire kitchen. So there's 3 separate kitchen circuits. And as it gets to a certain point, like there's all the bedrooms and, you know, the living room and all that kind of stuff, the bathroom ground faults and whatnot, they all come through here. And then they start to go kitchen 1, kitchen 2, kitchen 3, and they start to just alternate down here. The refrigerators, let's see, there's the microwave, refrigerator, dishwasher, 3 separate circuits for the kitchen. Each bedroom has its own circuit. Yeah, it's a pretty well-developed system. Either I have a picture of what this cover looks like without it, or maybe perhaps another time I'll show you. But I had to make all the wires really nice and neat inside here because these breakers are much longer than a standard breaker. The standard breaker is really only this big. You know, from here they all look the same size, but the lug that the wires screw into normally would be over here. With these newer breakers, they're further over. So definitely had to do some cable management in here. And in case you've noticed these larger ones, this larger 20 amp over here, this one's actually a 240 volt breaker for our well pump here, and then this one over here is the large breaker for the actual, or actually, I'm sorry, this is a standard 20 amp. This is the 20 amp breaker for the well, and this is a 30 amp breaker up here for the washing machine, dryer, whatever it is over there. And I just put these little tags on here to not energize these, because these are all just loose in the box on the other end. There's nothing attached to it, whereas these guys obviously have something running to it. There's some rooms where I hooked up the first outlet and the set, and then the remainder after that are not hooked up. And I did that so we just obviously have power in here, and you know, so those are on. But yeah, definitely a very well developed system. I mean, obviously I did it myself, so I'm going to give myself some praise, but I think it came out pretty well. Again, not an electrician by trade. Now there are some things here. You see I got these specialty clips which allow me to put up to a certain amount of wires in there, and we tried to keep them where all the yellow ones, which are the 12-2 they call it, this is a 12 gauge wire, this is for the 20 amp lines, and these are the 14-2 for 15 amp lines for all the lights and stuff. So there are situations like, yeah, I had to pull this one over here because it was just too many to put over there, or on the top of the panel up here you can see, yeah, I got another of them coming over here just because there's so many holes in there. Now those two large holes is the original contractor's kind of concept, but you can see we have this massive chaseway going along here. And just things like smoke detectors, carbon monoxide, they're all interconnected, so when one goes off, they'll all go off in the house here. And yeah, this is our big drainage system. I actually put in a vent system, so you can see the little line running up here. This goes upstairs. I may mention this is a couple houses. There's actually an old farmhouse, an old barn here that was slapped up against each other, and you can kind of see where the white was. This is the original siding of the house, and there was another little thing shoved up against here, and another little thing shoved up against there, and these little outbuildings and stuff. That's all been taken down way beyond what I did. That was, you know, in the months of April when they were tearing this apart. It's another thing I did today over here is the dryer line. Now that's actually going to get boxed out over along here. Something that we don't need to worry about today because the spray foam guys, they're just going to worry about what's in here. Another thing I kind of developed over here, this is all of our lines for our individual thermostats for each room. And then there's actually an additional line that runs up to the attic as a spare. So if we want to actually put like a whole house air conditioning in down the line or something like that, we could use that to control it. So these all come down in. This is a taco, as it says here, a taco unit. And this is actually what the thermostats come into this. The line here goes out to the boiler. And there's actually power. You can see we have this emergency shut-off switch here. So the power comes into here. I can shut this off and it will kill power to both the taco unit and the boiler. So this is the power feed going up to the boiler. This is the power feed coming down to the taco unit. And then these three lines go over here to all of the circulation pumps. So basically the concept is, you can actually see by the LED indicators here which zones are running. When you turn on one of the thermostats, it calls for heat, and then it sends that signal down to this wire. This wire kicks in a relay, which turns power on down to the corresponding head over here, which circulates all the water that goes through the system. And then it also sends a low voltage signal up to the boiler. It says you got to kick in, provide hot water to the house. So that does that, and basically that's it. So you can actually shut off the boiler here and still have the circulators run. Obviously the water's not going to be hot. So that's the purpose of that. This boiler also serves as the hot water for the house. So you can see right now it's 185 degrees for the actual heat. And then if I turn the faucet on behind me, this will actually read 129 degrees Fahrenheit, which is the temperature of the actual hot water. So that's what all these valves and everything does. I know it's a little more complicated looking than it is, but it really isn't that bad. This is our fill station up here. So this blue line is where the water actually comes in, and then there's an expansion tank. This is our well system over here. There's even a whole house filter. So everything is very compact. And here's another little thing I came up with. So this is the well shut off over here. So power comes in from the panel. It also goes out to the wellhead here, and then this pipe here, if you follow it down, actually comes to the actual head over here. So when this detects that the pressure in this tank drops, There's a little solenoid in here that clicks over, and then that will open up, and basically, well, you can follow the line. Power comes from the circuit breaker, comes up here, goes through the switch, so I can actually kill it if I want, and then it comes down, goes to that head, which is, you know, on because it's requesting power, and then it goes back up through this box, out the line, all the way to the front of the house, out to the wellhead. And then once this tank gets up to pressure, that little solenoid would close, and then it kills everything. So pretty simple thing. I went with this kind of a conductor here because I did not want to have just bare Romex cable sticking out. I know a lot of people in their basements, they have that, or they have like an in and an out. And well, this is in a utility room, not necessarily, you know, in a basement or someplace where it's going to be not seen. So we wanted to make it as neat as possible, and that's pretty much what we came up with. So yeah, really not much more to talk about here with this stuff. This is just your basic PEX. We are running on propane here. This is what the propane company did. We do have a little stub off in case we want to run a line over and put a propane dryer in after the fact. There is, underneath me here is a little hatch to get in. I think I've mentioned that before. Yeah, the only other thing I'll point out in here is, I'll just show this up here, is the lines for the network. Blue lines there would be for all the internet lines going to the various devices in the house, and then this is our coil for our cable system. So yeah, spinning around here, you can see there is quite a bit done. All the framing is definitely done. We put a little closet up over here. Yeah, I know there's some metal studs. Reason why we have metal studs here is because some of the ceiling places had to be packed out, and it was easier just to pack them out with the steel studs. So whatever was left over, we built this closet with. This is actually my first time working with steel studs. I don't really like them. I know they use them in commercial locations a lot, but we use it here, and it was actually pretty easy. I used a pair of snips and just snipped it, and well, basically more or less built it just like you'd build any other system. Now the outer edges of here go up into the ceiling. That's all going to be sheetrocked over, so you won't see those little bump outs up there. And I did little things like I cut these tabs into here so this little piece will slip into there, and then it gets all screwed in together. And yeah, well, it's pretty rigid. And those are the remaining radiators. Now these are all actually radiators for, you know, the leftover, the little cover plates and everything. And by the way, my camera's not going to last very long here. I noticed the light died out on me because the battery's going to die. And I don't really have much time here myself. I want to kind of wrap this up. The owner left for the night, and I figured I'd take, 10 minutes here and show you guys, now it's almost 20 minutes, show you guys what's going on here. So yeah, I got the rest of my tools cleaned up. This is the rest of the supplies. You can see I got all the electric cleaned up here. I got all the hardware, like screws and stuff, and any, tapes and adhesives and caulks and all that kind of stuff's lined up. And again, more electric stuff. No big deal. Got this little table that we just grabbed on the side of the road originally months ago to serve as just a surface to write on, look at blueprints or whatever. And yeah, that's it. Camera stopped recording, battery's dying. So just want to sign off, guys. I'll just have to pan around here quick and show you just the rest of this. Hopefully the camera doesn't completely die when I get to show this awesome staircase we're building. This is all mahogany treads over here, oak uprights. That's temporary railing, but you can see there's these chrome bars in here. This has all been routed out and custom fitted, and yeah, there's a lot going on with this. And it's actually just sitting here. It's sitting in its own merit. There's only a couple pieces that are actually bolted in. And guys, that's really all I have to say at this point. I'd sit here all night and talk to you, but I really got to get going here. And tomorrow I'll be off, so this can get done, and I'll be up here the next couple days after that. So hopefully I'll get back to getting these videos uploaded in a more timely fashion. I've been really wanting to do that, but want and what happens are two totally different things for me. You guys know YouTube is not my main source of income. In fact, it's really not much source of any income. So I kind of do it when I can now at this point. But it is what it is. I do expect on having another update video just in general. Coyotes. Interesting. I'm going to have another video talking about just stuff that's to expect in February and whatnot. Because, yeah, we're already a month into 2018. Time flies. All right, guys. See you later.